Hey, welcome back everyone. This is Uncle Frank, and I am not a financial advisor, nor is any of the content to be construed as financial advice. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. Okay, guys, let's get into it. Wall Street ended the week on a positive note, with stocks hitting fresh all-time highs. In the run-up to the busiest week for corporate earnings, the S&P 500 rose for a fifth straight day, approaching 6,400. Now listen to this part. More than 80% of the index's companies have exceeded profit estimates, according to data compiled by Bloomberg Intelligence. That's on track for the highest share of beats since 2021. Quote, "The pace of earnings so far this month has been positive. Economic data has been hanging in there, and we're even starting to get some sense of clarity on tariffs," said Bespoke Investment Group. He added, "You can't fault investors for being optimistic." President Trump is set to meet with EU leaders in Scotland this weekend, aiming to finalize trade agreements ahead of the August 1st tariff deadline. President Trump announced a massive deal with Japan on Tuesday, one he touted as perhaps the largest ever made. As per the agreement, Japan has agreed to invest $550 billion in the U.S., while goods imported from Japan will be subject to a 15% tariff rate. Trump also hinted at further progress on trade with China, saying he might visit the Asian nation in the not-too-distant future to meet President Xi Jinping. Finally, Trump said he sees a 50-50 chance, or perhaps less, of the U.S. and the European Union reaching a trade agreement. This Sunday could turn out to be a big day and have a huge impact for next week's markets. I don't know if you guys know this, but as a real estate developer, Trump began acquiring and constructing golf courses in 1999. By 2016, he owned 17 courses worldwide through his holding company, the Trump Organization. There is a planned meeting between President Trump and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen on Sunday at the Turnberry Resort in Scotland to discuss transatlantic trade relations. This meeting is considered a mini-summit aimed at potentially finalizing a trade deal between the U.S. and the EU. What's hot and what's not from last week? U.S. indexes, S&P 500 led the way, up 1.5% to 6389, followed by the Dow, up 1.3%, 44,902. NASDAQ added 1%, 21,108, and the Russell 2000 added only 0.9% to finish at 2261 for the week. The VIX shed 9% to finish under 15 at 1493. That's the lowest since February. Under S&P 500 sectors, healthcare led the way, up 3.4%, followed by materials, up 2.4%. On the world stage, Japan led the way, up 4.1%. India lost 0.4%. Commodities and bonds, crude oil, WTI, shed 3.2% to finish at 65.16 a barrel. Gold lost 0.7% to finish at 3335.6 an ounce. And the 10-year bond yield dropped 0.2 basis points to finish at 4.386. On the crypto side, by Friday, Bitcoin lost 0.3%, Ethereum gained 4.4%, and XRP shed 7.8% last week. Wall Street on Friday wrapped up a strong week with the benchmark S&P index notching its 14th record close of the year. The second quarter earnings season picked up steam this past week, with electric vehicle maker Tesla and Google parent Alphabet leading the charge. Tesla shares slid after the firm reported its worst quarterly revenue decline since 2012, and CEO Elon Musk warned of an increasing probability of a few rough quarters ahead. Conversely, Google impressed investors by easily beating expectations and sharply increasing its spending forecast. Also of note, the uneasy nature of the relationship between Trump and the Fed Reserve took another turn this past week after the president became the first incumbent U.S. leader to visit the central bank since 2006. Trump and Fed Chair Jay Powell visibly clashed over the alleged costs of renovating the Fed headquarters, with the president again pressing Powell to cut interest rates. Wall Street Breakfast fails to mention that the budget was originally $1.9 billion and has now soared to $2.5 billion. And it would appear meme stocks are back, but it's different from last time. Higher risk and lower opportunity. Stocks from the meme class of 2025 include Kohl's up 30% in one day, Open Door up 870% in 1 month, Krispy Kreme up 35% in one day, GoPro up 100% in 10 days, Rocket Mortgage up 16% in 5 days, and American Eagle up 17% in 1 day. By comparison, GameStop in 2021 rose 11,200% from 442 on January 4th to 500 in pre-market trading on January 28th. That was just in 24 days. AMC gained 3,000% over a massive span of 5 months back in 2021. According to Zero Hedge, Sydney Sweeney's breasts sparked an American Eagle meme stock frenzy. On Thursday, shares of AEO saw a sudden and dramatic jump, rising as much as 12% during the trading session. The surprising driver of this rally wasn't financial performance or a new product launch. It was actress Sydney Sweeney, or rather, her two most prominent assets, which were clearly highlighted over and over. Her popularity and cultural relevance caught the attention of the retail investing crowd, especially those active on Reddit's Wall Street Bets forum, where enthusiasm for meme stocks often begins. Okay, maybe we can get this chick to do an ad for AMC. What? We paid Nicole $25 million for 60 seconds, only this time maybe the commercial can play media wide instead of just in the theaters. Have you guys ever seen my idea for a GameStop campaign? Ryan Cohen hasn't done anything in 4 years except close stores, do a 4-for-1 and dilute. This ad makes me want to play video games. So the pressure to release the Epstein files has been intensifying, and I'm glad because I want them released too. If you molest children, I want you ruined for life. Ghislaine Maxwell spoke to DOJ about 100 people linked to Epstein. A House committee voted to subpoena her. She was convicted for her role in Epstein's sex trafficking of minors. The DOJ's Deputy Attorney General met with her over 2 days, and she didn't hold back. Ghislaine Maxwell answered every question from DOJ officials, according to her lawyer. She might even appear for congressional testimony. Let me show you what that has to do with us. Now, Trump wants all this to just go away already. I'm sure Israel wants to continue to use some of the people on the Epstein list for intelligence and pushing their own interests. But listen carefully to what the president had to say on the Ghislaine Maxwell meeting.
Well, I don't know about the meeting. I know it's taking place, and he's a fantastic man. He's a great attorney. And people should really focus on how well the country's doing, or they should focus on the fact that Barack Hussein Obama led a coup, or they should focus on the fact that Larry Summers from Harvard, that Bill Clinton, who you know very well, and lots of other friends, really close friends of Jeffrey Summers, should be spoken about. Because, you know, Jeffrey Epstein should be spoken about. And they should speak about them, because they don't talk about them. They talk about me. I have nothing to do with the guy. What I do want to say is that Todd is a great attorney, but you ought to be speaking about Larry Summers. You ought to be speaking about some of his friends that are hedge fund guys. They're all over the place. You ought to...
Some of his friends that are hedge fund guys. That's what Uncle Frank wants to hear about. Do you guys remember when Jamie Dimon, the CEO of our largest bank, called Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme, a hyped-up fraud, a waste of time, or a pet rock? That image is from an article I read from Friday. I think we all now know exactly where they stand and exactly which projects they're going with. I warned you all for months that Wall Street, Blackrock, Washington, and by extension its bullshit regulators were delaying and impeding Ripple XRP in an effort to protect Bitcoin, Ethereum, and even Solana from the Motley Fool Friday. Billionaires sell NVIDIA stock and buy a Blackrock ETF. Wall Street experts say can soar up to 8,500%. Hedge fund billionaires Ken Griffin and Steve Cohen sold shares of NVIDIA and added to their positions in BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust during the first quarter. NVIDIA was battling headwinds related to DeepSeek and chip export restrictions during the first quarter, but those potential problems have since become less worrisome. More companies and institutional investors are buying Bitcoin, a trend likely to continue due to its status as digital gold and the increasingly favorable regulatory environment. The real reason they don't want XRP off the leash is simple: because of its comparatively low price point, incredible utility, its use case, efficiency, speed, affordability, popularity with institutions and entities that transmit money. An authentic spot XRP ETF could draw tens of billions of dollars away from the protected projects, so they're keeping it exactly where they want it, in court for as long as possible. Do you want to know why BlackRock hasn't applied for a spot XRP ETF yet? BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF is outperforming its S&P 500 fund. Bitcoin is having such a scorching hot 2025 that BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust exchange-traded fund, NASDAQ symbol IBIT, is earning more than its vaunted iShares Core S&P 500 ETF. That's according to Bloomberg. The iShares Bitcoin ETF has generated $187.2 million despite only having $52 billion worth of assets under management. BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust has become the fastest growing ETF in history, reaching $80 billion in assets under management in just 374 days. This is significantly faster than the previous record holder, the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, which took 1,814 days to reach the same milestone, again, according to Bloomberg. Look, some of these IBIT shareholders are sitting on huge profits. Do you really think BlackRock wants them taking profits and investing in a better project in every way that trades in the threes? Start thinking about it. And I've got a little more for you. Pay attention, guys, because the chess pieces are moving. BlackRock's head of digital assets announced Friday that he's leaving the Wall Street giant and joining the second biggest Ethereum treasury company, which is Sharplink Gaming. He's going to be co-CEO. Rob Pythian, Sharplink's current CEO, will transition to the role of president over the next quarter and remain a member of the firm's board of directors. Joseph Chalem led Blackrock's crypto push, which included the launch of Bitcoin and Ethereum exchange-traded funds, as well as the firm's $2.4 billion Ethereum-based tokenized fund. So you AMC fans will immediately recognize that BlackRock now has an Adam Aron in place over at Sharplink. You see how that works? Now, the previous slide should explain this headline from Thursday. In a first for the industry, Sharplink buys almost 75,000 Ethereum. Here's why investors should take note. Sharplink is leading the way in building an Ethereum corporate treasury. Companies can earn yield by staking their Ethereum holdings, which also adds to the network's security. Ethereum has rallied over 110% during the past 3 months. Ethereum ETFs pull in $8.7 billion in first year after almost $5 billion rush in past 2 weeks. BlackRock's spot Ethereum ETF has reached $10 billion in assets as the broader ETH fund group saw 14 straight days of inflows. You see, guys, Wall Street and Washington don't want a big rotation from Ethereum or Bitcoin into XRP. That's why we're still in court, and that's why we can't get a spot ETF approved. I think they know better than we do that the spot XRP ETF will book like gangbusters. Not investment advice or advisor. You see, guys, Wall Street is trying to contain a rotation from Bitcoin to Ethereum right now. They don't need XRP rolling in and complicating matters. Some institutions are selling Bitcoin to acquire Ethereum, reflecting a growing interest in Ethereum's potential for yield generation and innovative applications. Institutions are increasingly viewing Ethereum as a strategic reserve asset and yield-generating investment due to features like staking and DeFi protocols, according to CoinCentral. Several firms, including BitDigital and BitMine, have recently increased their Ethereum holdings significantly, with some even selling Bitcoin reserves to fund these purchases. So December 22nd of 2020, do you know what happened back then? That's the day the SEC filed its case against Ripple Labs. The lawsuit alleged that Ripple conducted an unregistered securities offering by selling its XRP token. Since then, the court has deemed XRP is not a security. So how placing something that isn't a security with institutional investors somehow violates securities laws remains a profound mystery to Uncle Frank. That's 4 years and 7 months, 1,677 days. And guess what? We're still in court. Well, guys, here's yet another date I can put on the calendar. XRP news today: speculation mounts over Ripple SEC settlement as ruling sparks 70 to 90% probability by August 15th deadline. Legal experts caution against premature optimism, noting the SEC's typical 1 to 2 month enforcement recommendation process after key rulings. There's nothing left for the judge to do. There's nothing left for Ripple to do. We're all here waiting for the SEC to finally withdraw. And in the meantime, Atkins will continue to kill any ETF application that includes a spot XRP interest. I hope I'm wrong, but I won't be surprised if by the time we get to August 15th, we're told they need another 60 days. Would someone please start a petition for Atkins and the SEC to officially withdraw their appeal and let us out of the courtroom already. Hashtag the president. But this is what's most frustrating for me. This is from Thursday, guys. XRP surged to top Coinbase's buyer rankings with 101,000 participants, outpacing Bitcoin and Ethereum amid renewed retail demand and price recovery above 320. But do we get rewarded? No. And at the time of this recording, 10:32 a.m. Central on Saturday, we're down 6.79% for the week at 318, but still up 50.25% for the month. And you can call that a healthy retracement back down to the 3 support level if you want to, but that's not my beef. My problem is we couldn't take 4. We couldn't beat 384 on all this news and positive momentum. Trust me, guys, if Algorand or HBAR or even Fartcoin applied for a bank license, had a dozen spot ETFs in the pipeline, and bought Hidden Road, they would all be parabolic. But at least our co-founder, Chris Larson, sold $200 million worth of XRP in 10 days after giving Kamala Harris $11 million when she was running. This guy has been nothing but help for us. Am I right? And once again, guys, we're fighting everyone. It's retail who can't cheat against Wall Street who could cheat with impunity. We're fighting the SEC, Blackrock, the Bitcoin maxis, the Trump family crypto business, Swift. One of our co-founders is dumping, and the full weight of the federal government, like the OCC, America's most powerful banking associations. Ask OCC, that's the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, to halt bank licenses for Ripple and Circle. And almost overnight, the Feds and Wall Street shifted on crypto and got behind their projects. The Genius Group cites the Genius Act as it boosts Bitcoin stash to 200 Bitcoin. Ethereum set to benefit most from the Genius Act, says the Ether Machine CEO. Now, I do have some good news. While I'm kind of pissed that XRP didn't drop harder, there are some things going on that I quietly am applauding from Saturday. Well, the article, not the story. XRP price rebounds as Wellgistics eyes $50 million. Wellgistics Health secures $50 million in credit to build XRP reserves for Treasury use. The firm files with the SEC to become the first U.S. healthcare company to use XRP. Now, guys, I can honestly say, if I were a CFO, I would go with Ripple for my treasury needs over Ethereum and certainly Bitcoin, which is good for nothing in my opinion. Now, guys, I know we've seen an avalanche of good news on XRP over the years that would rally any other coin into a Lambo. But don't dismiss this, because if this becomes a trend, it may not matter what all our enemies decide to do. I can say that because I know our project is better than theirs in every measurable way. Not investment advice or advisor. Is this the most bullish XRP news in an SEC filing ever? Wellgistics Health has filed with the SEC to integrate XRP and XRPL, bringing a major real-world use case for Ripple. Wellgistics plans to use XRP for payments, treasuries reserves, collateral, and more. Experts believe this SEC filing debunks the XRP has no utility myth. I've never believed that for a minute. Hey, what can I say, guys? This is who BlackRock and Wall Street are going with. This seems like a better choice to them than Brad Garlinghouse or Rosie Rios, former U.S. Treasury Secretary. What could possibly go wrong? A Russian-born Canadian that carries a cat purse. Or maybe I'll buy some too, since people are pouring hundreds of billions of dollars behind this fruitcake. My big question is, Why didn't you send this guy or Satoshi Nakamoto to testify before the Senate on crypto and blockchain? Why did you send Brad? My next vid will be on Archer Aviation and what to expect from the markets next week. Stay tuned. Hey, I want to thank you for watching, and please remember to hit the like button after this slide if you enjoyed the presentation. Subscribe to the channel and set the alert so you're notified when I have new information to share. See you at the bell.